And
Recording
then,
in progress.
yep, there we go. And I'm gonna read read the Zoom meeting script, and then we can all welcome Judy. All right. So this is the October 22nd, 2024 open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission being conducted remotely, consistent with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's web meeting calendar, the Conservation Commission agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or more of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for the meeting are available on the town's website. I lost my place. The meeting will feature public comment after commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda. The chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. So I will now confirm which commission members are present. Ed?
Yes, I'm here.
Jim?
Here.
Ted is absent tonight. Janine? Don't see Janine yet. Matt?
Present.
All right, and then myself, Melissa. And I'll now confirm staff that are present. Kim?
Present.
Anna?
Present.
Joe?
Present.
And tonight we have Judy joining us.
I'm also present too, Heather
Yeah.
Burton.
Oh, sorry, Heather.
I know, I'm new.
I'm gonna add you right now to my script. So sorry. All right, Heather, and then Judy. You guys are in there now. All right. Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna jump to number 3, appointment of Judy Day as our new conservation administrator. Judy, welcome. And I think I'm gonna, your resume was in our packet for those on the board that didn't get a chance to see it or otherwise. Do you want to just give a little background on yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks y'all for having me today. My name is Judy Day. I'm really excited to be joining y'all as the Conservation Administrator. I'm currently with the Boston Region MPO, where I manage their climate resilience and air quality programs. So it's been great work focused on environmental planning, but specifically with transportation. So I'm really excited to broaden the work I do, have more of a local impact with Hopkinton, and do work near where I live. I live in Westboro, so I'm really excited to get started. Have a geoscience and environmental studies background. So I've worked a little bit on the government side and a little bit on the science side with wetlands, and yeah, really excited for this role and to get to know each and every one of you, and hope I can be helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Judy. Welcome. Does anyone have any questions for Judy on the commission?
No questions on the board. Just add, watch out for Jim. He's a real difficult customer.
We'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah, but I give you a little bit of time before I become difficult. Get a little honeymoon before I become a pain.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes.
And did you talk to her about Sally the salamander?
No, I did not mention that yet.
We'll have to go through that at some point.
We will. Yeah, I think. Well, I don't think we've even talked to Heather about that yet.
No, I was
that
wondering,
is true.
am I privileged enough to know about the salamander?
It's Halloween's coming up, so I mean,
Mm,
What about Tommy the Turtle?
yeah.
we just, have a couple obligations for our salamander mascot to show up to every once in a while, and usually it falls to the newest member of the commission. So you might have gotten jumped over there, Heather.
I think I lucked out on this one. Yes.
Is this a live salamander?
Just costume.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. All right. So for the appointment,
So through the chair, if I
yeah.
may.
Yep.
So just to give everybody on the commission a little bit of a background. So I was part of interview panel for our first round conservation administrator. And then Melissa was part of the second round, as well as John Gelsich, who is the principal planner, and some other staff throughout different town offices. So we're super happy that Judy decided to accept our request to come and join us and be the conservation administrator. And we were excited to hear that the appointing authority actually falls on you, Commission. So Melissa and I do request your confirmation of our request to appoint Judy Day as the conservation administrator to replace Kim. I know. I'm sorry, Kim.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I just want to mention that on Judy's resume, she talks about invasive species, which the rest of everyone knows is a hot button for me. So I'm quite thrilled. And certified stream crossings and culverts, which is another hot button for me. I'm excited.
It's good. As long as you're happy, Ed, we're all good. All right. So with that being said, can I get a motion to appoint Judy Day as our new conservation administrator?
I'll make that motion since I have a big mouth.
Second from Matt. All right, roll call on this. Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Janine's not here yet, right? Janine, did you sneak in? Nope. All right, Matt,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and myself, Em, and I. So congratulations and welcome, Judy. We won't put you on the spot anymore for this meeting. All right, so documents for review, we have
Through
draft.
the chair.
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of that coin, I wanted to close the loop with folks. So I just wanted to shoot you a heads up before this meeting is over that this will be my last meeting that I attend as your conservation administrator. I'm not sure if Melissa, it sounded like she might have been going over this before the recording started, but I will be providing on-call advisement and review of legally binding documents for the commission until such time that, Judy feels comfortable and off and running. So while I will not be at the meetings, I will still be somewhat in the background. So if you have any kind of technical questions or whatever for me, still feel free to reach out. And I just wanted to say for the record that this board is amazingly talented and resilient. And you're obviously in great hands with Anna and Judy, who I'm told has a great ability to speak and relate clearly to others. So those are great traits for conservation agent. and that the work that you guys do is so important and undervalued. And there are a lot of people out there who just are shouting on social media, but you are the folks who are actually volunteering your time to make your neighborhoods a better place. And I just wanted to recognize the great respect that I have for you all as a board. So I will see you around.
Thank you, Kim. Delight having you here as well.
Thank you, Kim.
Welcome.
Appreciate that. And we wish you the best too.
Thank you.
You're going to do great.
Thank you.
All right. So, moving along, draft minutes for review August 20th, 2024. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look. Does anyone have any comments on them? Or not have enough time, not feel comfortable voting? All right, hearing none.
I have nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna ask then, can we get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 20th, 2024?
I'll make that motion.
All right, and can I get a second?
This is Ed, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Heather, you were not there for these, so I'm guessing you probably want to.
Abstain from that. Yep.
And I will give it an aye. So those are all set. For anyone on the call, just point out, well, I guess in general, Wall Street has requested a continuance to November 12th. So we can skip over that one. And I'm gonna go up to Braga 150 Fruit Street, notice of intent, continuation. Site work for a single family home. So this hearing has been continued a couple times, but I think we've actually really had a meeting to introduce the project and go through it from the beginning. So Kim or Anna, do you want to give a background on this?
I can take a stab at that. Let me open up the site plans. I always go the wrong way. Okay. So this is a notice of intent for the construction of a single family home with a garage at a single family lot on 150 Fruit Street. The lot has been maintained as a meadowy kind of area for a long time. I'm sure Anna could tell us how long. So the applicant filed a notice of intent application showing the wetlands that I'm circling here. Lucas Environmental went out and did a review, and they identified additional isolated wetland areas. So Lucas Environmental met with Goddard Consulting, who is the applicant's representative in the field, and they agreed upon the additional IVW areas and then some changes to the BVW boundary flagging. So at this point, the buffer zones have kind of not expanded because they were there the whole time, but the buffer zones are covering more of the project than was originally understood. And I think at that point I'd bump it over to Joe for his comments.
All right,
Okay.
Joe?
As Kim had mentioned, I did meet with Tom Schutz of Goddard and Consulting, and we did revise the flagging at the one wetland in the southwest corner, and then we added those two other areas and agreed that those were appropriately delineated. I had submitted a follow-up review, and I'll just quickly go through that and mention a few things. As I noted, the flagging appears to have been revised correctly on the revised plan. There is an error in the labeling on flag A1 should be labeled A4. That still remains. I had suggested initially that the A series flag, which is in the southwest corner, that the delineation lines be continued to the property line because there are additional flags in the field. Those lines could be extended just to show that the wetland ends at the property line. I also in the follow-up review recommended that some additional information be provided on the culvert that is present at the at the wetland at the east central portion of the site. It's a 12-inch pipe that goes into this area. And I did look around in the field. I couldn't see where the other end of that comes out. And I don't know if that has been found or if it connects to another wetland, which may change the designation from IBW to BVW. But there didn't seem to be any obvious wetland in the direction that pipe was heading off in. So I'm not sure where that goes to, but any additional information on that would be helpful. The D series flags, as I had mentioned, in agreement with that, and that does appear to be isolated for sure. Just a couple of items on the paperwork. I had noted that the checklist for completeness had not been submitted, and I believe that is still the case. At least I have not seen that in the file. Also the site plan did not have any PIB markers indicated, and that remains. Also the site plan does not have any field survey date as far as when the survey was actually done. I know typically the Conservation Commission wants to have that on the plan. And also the comment regarding plan colors required by the bylaw regulations were not utilized. Additional erosion controls have been added to the site plan based on the new newly delineated wetlands. And I think that those are sufficient. Mass DEP had a comment on continuing extending the erosion controls also. And then the last comment, the updated bylaw supplement to WPA Form 3, which notes the area of buffer zone that's proposed to be disturbed. I had requested that the numbers on that be verified because it looks like there's additional buffer zone and there should be some additional buffer zone impact, I would assume. But the number has decreased as far as the buffer zone impact. And I don't see that there was any change in the actual scope of the work. So that should be just looked at and verified that those numbers are correct. And I think that pretty much covers my comments.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Do we have a representative or homeowner on the line for this?
Yes, this is Mitch Maslenka with Goddard Consulting, representing the applicant, Wagner Braga.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey.
Do you have any additional thoughts or responses at this point to the comments?
Sure. Yeah, so with the A series flagging, that change for the A1 to A4, that's a easy, small little site plan change that can be made. As far as it extending the property line, I think that is also a nice, easy plan revision that can be made. I'm not sure if, Joe, you want us showing flags offsite. Do you want us showing the flags offsite, or?
I would recommend just extending the line toward the next flag up to the property line. You don't necessarily have to show the portion of the wetlands offsite.
Great. Okay. Sounds good. And yeah, just so the commission knows, it basically goes directly to that property line at a right angle, because it's a pretty well-defined boundary. And if you look at it on Mass Mapper, you'll be able to see that. Then for the pipe, so Joe, you mentioned the pipe. So yeah, we did investigate that pipe, and we do not know where the outlet is, and I do not know how far the pipe even goes. So, I mean, we only do so much with our own materials to see where that pipe would go, but we did not find an outlet. And like you said, it would have to travel quite far to reach the next nearest wetland system, which is presumably, you know, off this plan towards the south. So that's our answer for that. As far as categorizing it as BVW versus IVW, I think maybe for the future, if development was proposed closer to it, or to fill the IVW for some reason, that maybe it would certainly need to be confirmed. But for the scope of this project, where it's outside the 50 foot from it, perhaps we could get away with not clearly defining whether it's isolated or bordering, because we are outside the 50 regardless. To add a note as well, the plan was revised once the isolated vegetated wetlands were placed on the plan. The well was shifted outside of the 50-foot buffer zone to that IVW, and there was, you know, some grading edits and erosion control barrier edits as well. As far as the buffer zone calculations, I'm gonna just trust what did his measurements on, and my best guess is that when the IVW buffer zones were added on, some of that buffer zone disturbance, maybe he captured in the IVW buffer zone square footage of disturbance instead of the buffer zone disturbance that was from the BVW over here. And then let me just scroll through Joe's comments one more time here. I think that covers it. So, I mean, in reviewing this, you know, we have some 100-foot buffer zone impacts at closest to that sort of ponding area, and then we have a bit more impact in an existing lawn area within the 50 to 100. So overall, in terms of wetland protection for this project, I believe that the project will not impact the sound gradient resource areas, nor will it impact the 50-foot buffer zone, which is the heavily protected bylaw buffer zone for single-family house projects. And so if the commission would be willing to issue an order of conditions tonight, I think that would be what the applicant's goal would be for this evening. So let me know if you guys have any questions.
Okay, thanks, Mitch. I do have a couple questions myself. I think I agree with your suggestion of revising that note for the isolated vegetated wetland with the pipe in it to not necessarily label that as isolated for this application, so we're not approving that. We need to get, one of the comments was PIBs on the plans. So I think we need to talk about that, because this is definitely one of those properties. It looks like, you know, there's not a clear, the tree line varies throughout the property. There's meadows, there's grass. So I think this is one that we could, easily find a lot of creep from the homeowner, and there's not much of a backyard. Here it slopes straight from the house. We've had some recent projects where slopes turn into walls to make a nice flat backyard. So I would wonder if the applicant has considered just creating, instead of doing the grading, if there was any interest or desire or future desire to turn that into, put up a retaining wall and make that a flat yard space as opposed to grading right off the back of the house. Or not.
I mean, I think with the amount of space and open space we have so on the lot right now, I think it would be okay to have this graded, a nice gradual slope, and tie into the natural grade down near the existing wood line, the existing wooded area, and the engineers, JD Markedon and Associates, they did add in retaining walls on that left side of the house to reduce the amount of impact to that wooded area over there. So retaining walls were considered for sure. But I think where they do have space to gradually slope it into the existing lawn area, I think they were hoping to not have to install walls or construct walls around that perimeter.
Okay. I'd be interested in getting some additional feedback from the rest of the members on the commission. I think my thought would be if there's not a wall, then we'd be looking for a significant PIB more than maybe just stakes in the ground on this one, but I'll open it up to the rest of the commission.
I'll go first. I agree with you. I mean, the future problem is that some owner down the road ignores PIB and builds a wall, and like you said, builds a lawn or landscape it. So I think it would need to be a robust PID, not just markers, not just placards. So I would agree with that.
This is Ed. This happens to be a property I'm overly familiar with because I go down Fruit Street a lot, both by car and by bicycle. And I've watched as stuff was brought in and dumped out there, not what I would call clean fill, and an area that historically was horse pasture, actually, in my early days in Hopkinton. And so it's like we're building a mountain to put this house on because of the nature of the place where it wants to be put. And I will leave it at that for the moment. I guess my other question would be, is any of that stuff that's been dumped there, is that in buffer zone at this point? I mean, I'm guessing that it might be, just curious.
Yes, it's in buffer zone to that D series IVW, and maybe within the 100-foot buffer zone to that E series IVW as well.
From my perspective, given that it's been historically maintained lawn or meadow, I mean, I drive by this site every day for the last 5 years. It's always been mowed. I think my practical side would say PIBs want to be along the wood line, and the existing maintained lawn, which would be a minor impact or a minor activity in the resource area based on our regulations, could remain lawn. So that's what I'd be looking for, is really PIBs along the wooded area to make sure that stays maintained as woodland into the future, and existing lawn remains existing lawn.
So on the plan, there's definitely a clear tree line I see to the south of the house, existing wooded area. And obviously on the west side to a degree, maybe not so much on the east. So maybe we need, I guess I would ask, we might need, I think we need to get a thoughtful PIB on the plan from the applicant. Before necessarily might want to vote on it.
Yeah, Melissa, I thought of something else too. This is going to be substantially filled, right? To raise the elevation up, put the foundation and stuff and so forth. And we've had concerns in the past. We've had issues in the past with areas not being stabilized, and we haven't had rain in a while. But if this is brought up, what appears to be, they just lost because of the color, 8 feet, 182 to 192, 10 feet. There's going to be a lot of soil material out there during the construction at a pretty good slope. That if it's not stabilized, it's not stabilized right away. If it's just left to be there, it's got to be stabilized. Otherwise, there's a good chance it's going to wash away, like we've seen in some other places. Right. So the sequence of construction is going to be really important, I think. Materials coming in, and it needs to be made perfectly clear to the site contractor what the limits of work are. That 24-inch pine tree is not to go anywhere, so somebody has to come in and cut that down. The only tree that looks like it's outside of the woodline, or there's a cedar up there too. So anyway, so I'm concerned about the sequence, or I want to make sure the sequence is clear and that the site is stabilized as soon as possible, even in the rough grade. Even if it's rough graded, that there be some stabilization of an annual grass or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Through the chair.
Yes, Kim.
Yeah, that's a great point by Jim. And I think something else for the commission to consider is this is the type of site where often we end up going in for the COC and seeing that there's a riprap slope. If it's not a retaining wall, it might be like a, just to get that stabilization. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not sure how it, impacts your feelings about the buffer, but it may also be, it's also something that I've seen contractors do to get that stabilization on a slope right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Kim, I assume that was you drawing. That's pretty much consistent with what I was thinking. The one exception being on that left area. I'd take that last node and just bring it to the back of the site along the tree line. The one that went to the property line on the west there. Nope,
Here?
below that. Nope, the one below that. Yeah, I'd take that and I'd pull it all the way to the back property line. The southern property. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Because that's in my opinion, that's the most critical wetland area. That's the BVW that is contiguous with the larger offsite BVW. So that's the one I'm most interested in making sure remains protected into the future. And then the rest of the area outside of those green lines is existing lawn that's been mowed, minor activity for them to maintain it as lawn. It gives the property owner some yard that's existed up to this point to just remain in place.
Mm-hmm.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So Matt, are you suggesting that we allow the property owner to continue to maintain these little isolated pockets as lawn areas?
I mean, I would prefer to see those pockets be left to renaturalize, but the area of the buffer zone outside of the actual resource to continue to be allowed to be mowed, since that's what's historically been done on the property.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not ideal to be mowing in a wet area. So first or second time they run their lawnmower through there, if it gets stuck, they're probably not going to go mow through there.
People also
Depends
don't
if
like
it's the landscaper or if it's the homeowner.
People also don't like tall vegetation in their yards.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps we should make some kind of designation over here just to call out these two areas.
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
So just to clarify, the wetland E, that is currently a mowed area being mowed. Wetland D is a depression that is full of large tree stumps and limbs and branches. Apparently a sizable tree must have come down at some point, was cut up, and all the woody material was placed in there. So that's what's there right now, with
Okay.
wetland vegetation coming up in between all the woody material.
Okay. Okay.
And with I got a question I forgot to ask.
Sure.
So I think someone said that the existing pipe out in that isolated area, the 12-inch concrete or corrugated metal, you don't know the source of that? Because I would guess it's the footing drain from this barn or the house next door, draining onto what's now the subject property, right? Where else would it be coming from? There's no other wetland. Is there any wetland on the adjacent property 164 that would be drained by that pipe?
Go ahead, Joe. To you.
Joe Marquardt, we did the site surveys. I have looked for that pipe a couple of times, Jim. There's a 6 or 8 foot length of the CMP that's exposed before it heads into the bank. And that's all you can see. You've got to kind of extrapolate out in that direction. And it seems to be just in that field. It's not coming from 164. It appears to be heading southeasterly, but there is no sign of an outlet. And I've tried at several times of the year, different seasons, to try and catch it flowing, and have not done it yet.
Oh, really? Okay. So maybe it was just abandoned at some point.
Yeah, it may have been the start of another project, and like any good farmer, they got off onto other things.
Yeah, exactly. Or non-farmers who get off on other things.
Through the chair.
Yes.
May I make a suggestion on a potential condition, kind of consistent with what I'm sharing? So based on what Joe said, we've got a bunch of stumps and kind of pieces of the trees up in wetland D. And E's been mowed, but I think it sounds like potentially the preference is to avoid continued mowing of wetland D. So suggestion condition would be the PIBs along the wood line with some, whether you want to call it mitigation plantings or supplemental plantings in E that would allow us to put a PIB along those boundaries, and the removal of the existing debris from wetland D replaced by, again, some wetland plantings that we could put a PIB on. And the trade-off is the homeowner gets to maintain the existing lawn area that's out there today, so they have a yard that they can utilize.
Mm-hmm. Joe, is the type of woody debris that's been dumped, is it worth removing, or is it leave it there and let the wetland go?
It's worth removing. It's pretty.
It's worth, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a big tree.
It was a big tree.
Through the chair.
Yes.
And so I'm quite quiet. I think I have to refrain from any comments or potential conflict of interest because I live very, very close to this site.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Heather, would you like to recuse yourself? Is that what the words were? Okay. I'm just formalizing the process for you so that we meet
that's
we
best
check the
considering
boxes.
my recent conflict of interest training.
Okay. Okay. Well, now we have it on the recording, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. So Matt, I like your suggestion and I'd be on board with that. In my opinion. I guess the one other thing I would just question is whether between those two wetlands in green, or between the two wooded areas in green, existing wooded areas where it says existing meadow and there's kind of that path that goes down. Being less familiar with the site, is that something that we should encourage to be not mowed and left back to, be buffer zone? And in that case, maybe do a couple restoration plantings there that we could put a PIB as well on the line.
My recollection of the site would be yes, we would let that kind of grow back naturally. The tree canopy in the back half of the site, from what I recall, covers that whole area.
Yeah.
There's really, at least from what I can see from the street, right? There's really no true meadow path.
Mhm.
It's just kind of a break in the understory of the trees.
Okay.
I don't know if Joe or the surveyor recalls it differently, but that's my recollection.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I probably, through the chair, there's probably some photos of that. It is a maintained mowed area in between the trees. I'm not sure that it necessarily leads anywhere in particular,
Mhm.
but it has been maintained.
Okay, maybe a definitive PIB there would prevent a shed or something like that from creeping up in that area.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So with that being said, I think we need to have put on the plan PIB line. Mitch, did that make sense? Do you have enough direction to do that based on the comments from the commission?
Yeah, so I've got some follow-up comments. So I think that's totally reasonable for the D series isolated wetland to have all that wood removed. I think that's a great idea. Letting some new stuff grow through there. As far as, if it's already in some sort of like herbaceous meadow state, maybe we just seed it with a wet mix and let the wet herbaceous plants grow in that area. Kind of diversify our habitat there, instead of adding shrubs and just creating another shrub wetland. And same thing with the isolated wetland. Maybe just one PIB at each one, just to say, hey, here's our isolated vegetated wetlands. And then I think that's a great idea to have PIBs along that existing wooded area, forest edge there. That way they know, hey, this is our limits of approved development in the buffer zone. So I think that's very reasonable. I'd say for the existing meadow path back there, part of me would say, it would be ideal if the applicant were still able to utilize that existing path and maintain it in the condition it's in. I do understand your concern about a shed, but I'm thinking, just with the scope of the projects occurring basically within all existing lawn, that I'd hate to have the applicant lose out on that cool little feature on their property. So that's sort of where I stand. So if the commission would be all right with it, could we do a PIB at the D series, at the E series, and then along the woodland edge, that's highlighted in green, just the edge that's closest to the proposed development.
This is Ed for the chair.
Yes, Ed.
I want to make clear to those who haven't seen this, that this is not a lawn like we think of lawns in Hopkinton. This is a meadow. This was a place where horses hung out. It was chewed down by horses, and yes, it was occasionally mowed, so it kind of stayed that way. It is not a lawn per se, in my opinion.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
just a little additional information on wetland D. As far as existing vegetation, there's a mix of some wetland goldenrods. There's also some elderberry growing in there. And also, I just saw my notes that there are some invasives in there that the commission might want to consider having a management plan for those. Multiflora rose, glossy buckthorn, autumn olive, and bittersweet. They're all present.
Okay. It's a good comment, Joe. Mitch, do you think you could add that to your plan, invasives management in that area?
Could it just be an initial removal effort?
Joe, those require more than initial.
I would suggest at least some monitoring during. It's probably going to come back after the initial removal to some extent.
Okay.
Some point, people come back looking for a COC. And one of the bases of the COC might be to look in there and see what there is in the way of invasive plants, which we're saying need to go. And if there are invasive plants still there, we could say, well, we can't issue the COC.
Yeah, I actually like that, Ed. Could we do just, as, maybe an initial removal effort, and then prior to obtaining a COC, we just make sure there's no invasives present at that time?
Evaluate at that time, and yeah, okay. I think we could make that a condition. Okay with that.
Awesome.
I would also be amenable on so the D and the E, we talked about putting a PIB with some plantings. I think if you're interested in doing a split rail fence on that side too, rather than plantings and just letting it grow, I'd be okay with that as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd actually defer to Wagner on that. If he, Wagner, are you on the line?
Yes, I can hear you.
We hear you. There's some feedback, but so that if you can see the screen, they're looking at the D series wetland, and they're asking if a split rail fence, if you'd be amenable to have one installed close to that boundary, just so future homeowners don't want to mow that isolated wetland.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we're okay with that.
Does anyone on the commission want additional trees, or I don't want to speak for everyone on that, but that was just a suggestion.
Through the chair?
Yes, Kim.
I think that's a great suggestion. I think that'll help a lot. And I do think that these wetlands will probably come back and reestablish well once that debris is taken out. That being said, I did just want to point out, take it or leave it, that allowing an applicant to establish a PIB at the boundary of the resource is inconsistent with what the commission has found in prior filings, even in cases where they have been historically managed up to the boundary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, Kim. So we need some distance from the boundary to hold them to.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I think, Kim, can you explain that again, please?
Sure. So just pointing out that allowing an applicant to install a PIB at the boundary of the wetland versus some amount of distance to create a buffer to that wetland is inconsistent with how the commission has found in the past.
I'm with you now. Thank you.
So we might want to say something like 25 feet off or something like that.
Well, if it's it's allowed to have the mowing up to the boundary of the isolated wetland. Would this be sort of its own special circumstance where, you know, if we just have a PIB at the 25 foot, is it really going to aid in protecting the isolated wetland if, you know, if he can mow between the 25 and the boundary? Like, could we just put it at the wetland boundary?
I think no matter what the PIB is, it would need to be a distance from the wetland. It would need to be, I'm throwing out 25 feet as a suggestion.
Yeah, Melissa, this Jim, 25 feet makes, well, I mean, that would be consistent, I think. We would need that, 25 feet. That's our no build, no disturb zone.
Right.
But if it's been in a historically lawn condition, you know, I feel like it should still be allowed to remain in that a lawn condition.
Yeah, that's what Matt said before, right, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a minor
Well-
activity in our regulations.
Well,
Not
maybe where
necessarily
it's
exempt, but minor.
where it's mowed currently, then that can be, you know, that can be marked at the end of that. But the rest of it, where it's not maintained now, would be at the 25, right?
Yeah, and maybe, you know, what we could do is, so you see flag D2. If we go 25 feet off of D2, you know, that's at an existing forest edge there. Yeah, you know, I could see that being beneficial, you know, to give someone notice, hey, you're about to enter 25 in. And then maybe we do another one right at D2 just to say, hey, you're 25 feet from it. And then, hey, you're right at it. And then same with over at flag E3, maybe 25 feet off of E3 along that forest edge, 25 feet there, just saying, hey, you're 25 feet away. And then one very close to E3, like a foot off from E3 saying, hey, this is the actual wetland boundary.
Through the chair, it sounded like the applicant was amenable to the split rail fence idea.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're all talking the same thing here, we'd be asking as a commission for a split rail fence 25 feet off of D2, D1, and D5. And the areas beyond that fence would be allowed to return to whatever a natural wetland state Mother Nature chooses after the removal of the debris. I feel a little bit differently about the E series just because it's actively mowed that we necessarily need to put a 25-foot buffer there. You know, I'd be of the opinion that some hardy plantings, whether it's a tree or a couple of trees or some wetland shrubs or some other plantings, but allowing the rest of the area to be mowed.
Mm-hmm.
That's just where I'm at on it.
Yeah, no,
Is it-
that's
Is it possible to shift that yellow line closer to the wetland boundary? Because there is still lawn in that area.
the lawn, like when it use the word lawn in the way that I envision someone would maintain this house once they move in is, you know, green grass mowed weekly with fertilizer applied. I imagine that's not the type of lawn we're talking about right now as existing condition. We're talking meadow. So that's the difference that I see in giving that buffer between the wetland, is just providing a little bit of a filter to what I imagine a lawn becomes by this homeowner.
Okay. Wagner, are you okay with that, having that split rail fence being 25 feet off of the wetland boundary?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Okay.
And then just some plantings for the other one, like Matt suggested.
Yep. Yeah, for the E series, I think just honestly one tree could just go right in the middle there. And then for the D series, Joe, you said there are some elderberries in there already. Is there room for additional shrubs or trees?
I would assume so. Once all that woody material is taken out, I would think so.
Okay.
Most of what's coming in for shrubs is along the edge.
Okay. Yeah, could we just condition it in that we put one red maple tree in the E series and 2 red maples in the D series?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And then, so I think that takes care of our PIB issue and where we want that to be. Also along the tree line, putting medallions like we talked about. As far as the plan edits go, this might be a Joe/Kim question. The plan edits that remain from Joe's comment letter, updating some flags and lines and things like this. Is that something that is editorial and can be submitted after we vote on this, or should we continue until we get the plan edits?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Given that we need to show the PIBs on the plan as well, my recommendation to the commission is always
Hold off.
hold on closing until you get the plan.
Okay.
Just because that 21-day clock starts.
Right. Mitch, are you okay with continuing this out to the next hearing to get all those loose ends tied up, especially since we're kind of transitioning staff and need that full 21 days to button things up for?
I think that's reasonable. And we can get that to you, and just knowing that next hearing will probably just be a nice, easy, yep, all right, everything got added, and you guys are good to go, right?
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. And if you send the edits over earlier, we can give it a peek too, to make sure everything's good to go.
Awesome.
Meeting.
Great.
Okay, so can I get a motion to continue this hearing to the next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Jim makes the motion, I'll second.
And that's November 12th. Just looking it up. All right, roll call. All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right.
Matt, Heather.
Abstain, staying out of it.
Oh, that's
for
right.
this one.
You're
Yep.
abstaining. Yep, and I'm an aye.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commission.
Right.
Thank you, Mitch.
Bye-bye.
Go.
Okay. So that's it for our hearings. So we'll continue on to Elmwood Farms 3 Newberry Glen violation discussion on the tree removal in the buffer zone. So now we got some plans in on this one, showing the tree clearing, inventorying the trees, and then a mitigation plan. So do we have do we have Ted on the line?
I'm here.
Hi, Ted.
Hi.
Do you want to go through what you put together for us?
Sure. So when I last left the commission, we had shown the plan that Kim has on the screen, that showed the trees within the buffer zone that were cut beyond the 30-foot line that we had discussed. And if my memory serves, I think we counted 15 trees there, and I was asked to put together a replacement planting plan by a landscape architect that showed 2-to-1 plantings with native species. which is what you see on your screen. I did have the conversation because I know it was a topic at our last meeting of the survivability of those trees within the tree canopy in this area, and it was my landscape architect's opinion that they would survive here. So this is the plan. I'm open to comment on it. I would hope that we would get the work done for the pipe first and then the planting done after that. So it's probably a next season planting, but I think that's the general context, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay. Ted, I see proposed 15-foot future HOA easement. Is that something that's new? Or has that always been on the plan?
That has always been part of the proposal, right? This pipe it runs along the back of the Newberry Glen site and discharges on the right-hand side of that paper to a catch basin. And I think the thought, I had discussed this with Kim, was that the HOA would maintain this pipe, in case of whatever maintenance was necessary, because the property ultimately is planned to be granted to the town. And I don't think the town wants the maintenance responsibility of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so all the plantings are outside of that 15-foot easement, but filling in the outside half of the 30.
Correct.
Plus the additional space. Okay. Joe, Kim, Anna, did you have a chance to look at this plan as far as the plantings go? I don't know if that was something we asked of you, Joe.
Yeah, no, I have not. This is the first I've seen this plan.
To the chair.
Yes.
So it does look like all of the proposed plantings are native, stack up. Not sure about the American light and if it's FAC up, Joe, but I think it is. FAC up species, so they should take to this area fairly well. They seem to be appropriate for the location.
Okay.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
Firstly, I am pleased with the species of trees that I'm seeing selected. I think that is great because it kind of fits into what I remember seeing when we walked it. At the last meeting, I did inquire about trees that were taken out that were outside the Concom's jurisdiction because of the plan that this would eventually come to open space. And I know when open space discussed this originally, we were a little antsy about it because of this pipe and do we really want it? And there's some dissension in the regs about this. So Ted, were there trees taken down that were outside the buffer zone that aren't being accounted for in this?
Yes, and I think Kim also has that plan. So there were, and I'm trying to squint at this, but I see maybe 4 additional trees that are outside of the 30-foot and outside of the buffer zone.
And will you be planting trees there?
I'm open to it.
I think I need to report back to the commission more than you're open to it. I need a commitment.
Yeah. Fine. I'm happy to commit to that, and I don't know if that's the same ratio, if that's the desire, that's fine with me. So if that's 8 additional trees in those areas, it sounds like probably 6 up towards that corner and 2 probably down towards Blueberry Lane. I can have the plan adjusted to show that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Through the chair?
Yes.
It looks like pin oak might have been one of the proposed species, which that is a FAC wet. It often grows on floodplains, but it does grow in upland areas too. I don't know. I think it probably would be okay there, or not sure if Red Oak is on there. Red Oak is another one that could possibly be put in other than Pin Oak, which is a backup species. And the other ones are all backup.
Through the chair, this is Ed. We have a pin oak in our yard.
Yeah.
And it's quite happy and content and doing well.
Yeah, I've seen them in upland situations quite often, so I don't think that there would be an issue with them.
Okay. All right, does anyone else on the commission have any comments or thoughts on this plan with the addition of what do we say, 8 trees outside of the buffer? I'm gonna open it up to public comment at this point, as I don't hear anything else from commission members. I don't see any hands. Okay. So, it sounds like we're comfortable with this. Kim, is this something we would vote on?
So at this point, this isn't something that I think that we need to vote on. It did not move to enforcement because the applicant has been cooperative with us, as you can see. I think what I would recommend is that Anna or Judy memorialize this in a memo, and we can file it with the project file, and it'll be something that we look out for when as the project is progressing.
Okay. That's a good idea. So Judy or Anna, if you can write that letter up, add the additional trees, and Ted, for timeline, we're saying spring, like May, but I don't know what's your schedule for putting the French drain, and is that going in?
I mean, we should be putting that pipe in like in the next week or two.
Okay.
So that'll be in, but I don't anticipate being ready for plantings this season.
Yeah.
So with being able to source plants and get them there, I would like at least till the end of May, if not a little bit further, just to make sure that we can get what we need and get in there. But I certainly think that next spring is the appropriate time to plant this.
Okay. So maybe we can put a date, June 1st in the letter. And then if that becomes a problem, you can let us know, Ted, in the spring.
The chair.
Yes.
And I would encourage Toll Brothers to move forward with the trench, because that was something that was supposed to happen early. So definitely don't delay the trench for the trees.
They were putting up the fence that was requested, I think, today, so should be moving on it right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yes, Ed.
I'm just asking for a copy of the memo to be sent to the Open Space Preservation Commission, so we have it on record.
And Anna or Judy, if you would like, I can modify the plan prior to sending that out, just so that you can have the up-to-date plan attached. It shouldn't take us too long to modify.
Through the chair, that would be super helpful, Ted.
Okay. And I heard you're working on or getting ramped up to do some replication area soon.
Yes. We met with our environmental consultant, LEC, last week with a new contractor on site that's going to do our wetland replication work. They were supposed to be placing erosion controls today. I haven't physically seen it, but I'll be up there tomorrow to verify that that's happening.
Great. Okay, I think that's all on this for now. Thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you guys.
with us. All right, next up we have Rogers 3 Singletary Way request for certificate of compliance continuation. So we talked a lot about this one in our last meeting. Anna, you want to run through the update?
Absolutely. So as a reminder to commission members, this was a construction of a new single family house with a septic system back in 1995. Upon getting the property ready for sale, it was realized that a certificate of compliance was never obtained. Lucas's review caught that there was some offsite work, as well as the limit of work was closer to the wetland than originally approved. So the commission had a discussion at the last meeting to relocate 2 of the PIB markers back onto the subject property versus being offsite, and asked for some additional native plantings. So the applicant has added 8 native plantings, has relocated 2 PIB posts. One appears to be probably maybe just off property line, but a lot closer than the initial one was placed, and has provided, as Kim is showing, this revised as-built plan. So at this point, I think they have met with the commission's recommendations from the last meeting, and I would advise that the commission issue a certificate of compliance.
That's great. I did look through the pictures, look good to me. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on this one? Nope. All right, that being said, can I get a motion to approve the COC?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Through the chair.
And signatures, is that what you're gonna say, Anna?
Thank you.
And signatures by Anna. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Jim. All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. All set.
By the way, signatures by Anna sounds like a business name.
Signatures by Anna, yeah.
And no, there is no relation to the Rogers that is the applicant to myself.
I was going to say notary by Anna is a real thing.
That is true. When my new stamp gets in, maybe.
Next up, we have Davinsky 15 Parker Point Road request for certificate of compliance.
Through the chair, happy to give an update to the commission on this one. So 15 Parker Point Road, existing single family house. The applicant proposed an addition, a deck, a porch, and some site grading. Lucas did their review in September and came back with some comments that erosion controls were still in place. There was a few bare areas of the lawn that needed some additional stabilization. The limit of work was approved right at the property line and seemed to have been expanded about 10 feet onto state property. The PIB was supposed to be located right on the property line, but again, with the expansion of the limit of work, the PIBs are off property. And Joe also pointed out that there is a dock on Lake Whitehall, which we did see pictures of initially. So just questioning any permitting for that dock on the state property. The applicant has responded. They have put some sod in those bare areas near the erosion controls to stabilize the lawn. And that it was also noted, Kim had some photos back in, I believe, March of 2023, that there was a report of cutting of trees in the area on state property. So just want to remind the applicant that there should not be any cutting of trees off property and also within the buffer zone without permission from both the state and the commission. So at this point, I think we need to have a discussion on the limit of work and the PIB relocation. And Mr. Dubinsky is on the call this evening.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dan.
guys. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate the opportunity to go ahead and entertain these questions. Would you like to ask the questions one at a time and I can respond to them?
Sure. I guess, how about those PIB locations? Is that something that you're amenable to moving onto the property?
Well, very proud and happy to say they've already been moved. I did have the opportunity to see Joe when he finished his survey, and he mentioned these items to me at that time. So they've been moved into the 2-foot buffer zone off 15 Parker Point.
Okay,
Already compliant.
thank you. And then the other one was, so you put down some additional, what was it, loam and seed for the areas that were not quite stable?
Actually, thank you for the question. Actually, we expanded that because, again, after speaking with Joe, we wanted to get rid of the wattles and the landscape screening.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, Joe, what's the quickest way to go ahead and do this? He said, Bob, you might have to wait until the spring. I said, how about if we bought a pallet of sod and we put it across the entire property line? And we did that. And I think I've sent some photos to the commission to go ahead and indicate that. And happy to say that the sod is taken well and there's no evidence of erosion at all.
That's great. Thank you for jumping on that.
Pleasure.
Anna or Kim, do you have any pictures in the file?
Yeah, I'm looking for the photos right
Okay.
now.
Sure.
I think, excuse me, but I think Kim had an additional suggestion that once the meeting's over and the compliance has been issued, that we'll remove the wattles and we'll continue to move. We save some sod to take the place of where the wattles are. So we'll be pretty protective of any runoff this fall and winter.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Okay.
And the grass has come in quite nicely since that, even without the rain that we've had.
Okay.
But don't look at that. Don't look at that irrigation hose there. That's just decoration.
Nice. Halloween decorations. Yeah. Okay, great. When did you put those in? Is that
Oh, jeepers. I don't know. Probably 3-4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago?
Kim, do you have a date on the email I sent you? Because I think that's when we completed the work.
10/22. That would have been today. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Through the chair, yeah, I did receive them a couple weeks ago. I don't know why the date is today on them. But yeah, no, it was earlier in October.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. And then the other thing was just, I think there were 3 things. I think the other thing was just reviewing, 2, I guess, the dock and the tree cutting on the DCR property and just acknowledging that that is DCR and we need to be mindful of doing anything in that area without their permission or talking to the commission.
For sure. And as far as the questions on the dock is concerned, that's a pre-existing dock. It was here when we bought the property. Its use is probably anybody who wants to go on the dock that walks that nice trail that goes around. So I'm not really cognizant of a lot of activity there.
Okay. That makes sense. So if you were to ever entertain doing anything with it, we just have to talk about that. All right, so the PIBs are moved, we just need an updated plan then. Anna and Kim, to show that they are actually on the property. Correct?
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. I mean, I think I was just talking to Anne about it. I think we can take it the revisions to the plan after the fact if the commission feels comfortable issuing the voting on the COC tonight. But yeah, just the edits to the plan.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable voting. I appreciate you jumping right on that, Mr. Dubinsky.
Thank you.
To get those taken care of. So does anyone else on the board or the commission have any questions, thoughts? Or does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to issue a COC, even though we're waiting or whatever. To issue a COC with the understanding that we'll have a revised, finalized plan submitted.
And with Anna's signature?
With Anna's signature. With signatures by Anna. Signatures by Anna.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right.
Matt,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So you're all set. Just get us that updated plan and
Happy to do so. Happy to do so. And those that they've already been moved, we'll just plot them. I'll work with Joe Marquardt to have them indicated on his plan. So thanks, everybody.
okay, thank you.
You guys do good work. Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, next up we have Spiegel 24 Downey Street request for certificate of compliance. Anna, you want to give us the...
Absolutely. So for the commission, Spiegel at 24 Downey Street was an order of conditions to replace and enlarge a single family house with associated site work. The applicant applied for a certificate of compliance and Lucas went out in September of 2024. And I believe it was Tom, not Joe. So Joe's comments may be a little bit limited on this one. It was noted that the erosion controls were still in place, but could be removed as the site was stable. There were a few areas of crushed stone versus originally approved loam and seed. There was no indication of the required dry wells for roof runoff. And there was an approved timber walkway with paver steps, and instead a concrete steps were installed. There was an indication of required mitigation plantings on the site. Some of the plantings were found and were dead, and others were not able to be located at all on the site. But there was a note that there was some sweet pepper bush growing in one of the areas where the plantings were supposed to be. There was a note that there were 2 retaining walls on the property instead of the one approved, but we were subsequently able to locate that Kim had administratively approved that change in 2021. So that was an approved change. The applicant has since responded to Lucas's memo and is on the call this evening. They were able to provide documentation that the majority of the roof is covered by dry wells. There was a portion that, due to the gradient and the dry well locations, was not able to be connected, but they provided photographic evidence of the dry wells while they were being installed and how the roof system is connected to them. Applicant is happy to remove the erosion controls. They're happy to leave the sweet pepper bush, and we'll watch the additional swamp azaleas to see how they survive. The applicant also indicated that they feel the concrete steps are more durable, will last longer, will reduce erosion, and will improve safety, and that's why they chose to do the concrete steps. So at this point, I don't know if the commission would like to discuss the need for some additional plantings. This one is not lush green lawn like we've seen a lot directly along the lake, but there is there is mowed area and a mix of some vegetation that goes right up to the lake. So I don't know how the commission feels about this.
All right, thanks, Anna. And you said that the applicant or the owner is on the call. Do we want to, like, to just invite them to speak if they would like to?
John Spiegel, I am on the call.
Okay, thank you. Quick question on the concrete stairs, was there any discussion initially on the type of stairs? When you were designing one way or another?
I don't recall
Okay.
specifically calling out wooden steps. I can tell you the previous steps that were there were wooden.
Mhm.
And at times during wet weather, they become very slippery and dangerous, especially on a slope of that significance. So
Mhm.
there was really no, and there was significant rot in those pressure treated steps that were previously there. So we were not really interested in putting another set of wooden steps in that area.
Okay. It's the same area, same footprint and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the pictures, Kim. In regards to the plantings, the required number of plantings, and Joe, I guess you can chime in as well. It sounds like there's maybe a discrepancy between what the commission asked to be planted versus what is actually thriving and living in these areas. Is
Hard
that-
to tell from this picture. Oh, there you go. Yeah, there was three bushes were proposed, or maybe it was 3 trees proposed that were supplemented with 6 bushes. And it looks like 3 of the 6 bushes did not survive. But I have full intention on replanting those.
Okay.
To the chair.
Yes, Joe.
Well, it looks like Tom also noted that there were 10 silky dogwoods that could not be located. So I'm not sure if those were planted or if those are still missing.
Those were planted. I think if you go back one picture, they're along the right side of the shoreline. I know it's kind of a nature area in there, but those are stake plants. They're hard to tell, but I think that because of the growth in the area, I planted them myself, so I know exactly where they are. But because of all the other growth in the area, like the pepper bush, I think it's hard to find them in there. I'm assuming some of those also did not survive. We are not necessarily in love with that species specifically. We followed the board's recommendation on what natural species to plant in that area. So if pepper bush is sufficient for what the board is looking for, we are totally fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, I think from the board's perspective, as long as it's native, and suitable to that soil type and whatnot.
Yeah, those were there. Those have been there as long as I've lived there, which was 10 years prior to the demolition. So those have always existed in that area. I know that as part of our commitment to the conservation, we volunteered to plant additional staking plants. And again, I have no problem replanting those if the board sees it necessary, but we're fine with the pepper bush as an alternative as well.
Okay. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on what we have here for the COC? I think in my mind, the biggest thing is whether we're comfortable with issuing a COC while the plantings are still a little bit in limbo.
I have no problem replacing them, tomorrow. I just want to make sure, weather permitting, that they don't just end up dying again. But at the same time, we definitely want to try to move forward on the COC due to, interest in refinancing or other house changes if necessary.
Gotcha. Joe, do you think it would be, given the season, appropriate to plant at this point in time the missing, I guess we're talking about the Silky Dogwoods primarily, or an alternative to them rather than waiting till the spring.
Yeah, I mean, if the applicant isn't, enthralled with Silky Dogwood, I think the sweet pepper bush, if they're growing there on their own, that they could augment plantings of sweet pepper bush. And I think probably can still get them in this year. Not a problem doing that.
Yeah, John, I think maybe just to close it up, if you could either plant or account, or maybe it's a combination of both, planting and accounting for the sweet pepper bush, and additional and supplementing that so that we get to that count of 10, basically so that we're meeting the required number of plantings, then I'd be comfortable with that, I think.
Yeah, I can plant them and send pictures along as well. I don't have a problem. In terms of number of plantings, obviously with some existing bushes in that area, should I plant 10 or should I just plant to fill that area with pepper bush?
Was this area before the work was done? Did it not have any vegetation there? And that's why this location was chosen?
Yeah, it's always had vegetation. I think the requirement was 10 feet from that dock. There would be new plantings. And I think the live stake plants was what me and my previous engineer selected. It was more of a, nicety for the conservation rather than necessarily something you guys required from us.
Okay. Yeah, if it's growing on its own and you have some substantial growth in bushes in that area.
Yeah, I've been trimming it back over, the last 4 or 5 years or so as it, can spread into my neighbor's property and whatnot, and, just keeping it in line, but it's been living there for 10 plus years.
Okay. Does anyone else on the commission have any thoughts on this?
Melissa, is it about making sure we have the mitigation plantings in quantity? Is that the item we're really looking to?
That's what I'm thinking. Well, I guess I'm thinking the intention is that, we like to see some growth along the lake edge, creating that, unmaintained buffer. And I imagine, I don't remember top of my head what were the discussions back when this was being permitted exactly, but I imagine that's what we were trying to establish.
You can't remember something from 3 years ago like this?
This was actually before your time as well. We had a going even farther back.
Through the chair.
Yes.
May I make a suggestion that since that corner is already pretty well established with vegetation, to add 2 additional sweet pepper bushes in that corner, and then maybe 2 additional sweet pepper bushes on the far side on that opposite property line to add a little more vegetation close to the lake coming down off that crushed stone area?
Would you be amenable to that, John? Mr. Spiegel?
Yeah, that's not a problem. There's already a bunch of vegetation in that area. So I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. I think that would get us to where we were trying to be. As you know, I mean, I think across then Lake Maspinock in general, we're trying to encourage as much, filtering and naturalization along the lake edge as we can to deal with the nutrient loading and weeds and whatnot. So we'd appreciate that if you could.
Yep, not a problem.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
We should make a note to talk to Judy about lakeside landscaping initiative. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get you up to speed on that, Judy. All right, so I think, are you amenable to planting those and then we can vote on it at our meeting in 2 weeks? Are you looking to?
I was hoping to close it out now. I have no problem planting them this week and sending pictures.
Okay,
That's not a problem.
okay. I think I'm comfortable with that. Can I get a motion from someone? What was this
Make a
one?
motion to approve the certificate of compliance with signatures by Anna.
All right. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. All right, thank you, Mr. Spiegel.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, we have Franklin Road Solar request for certificate of compliance. Anna, how does it look?
Through the chair. So Franklin Road Solar, this was adjacent to the site of the former Liberty Mutual property. So the applicant came in and proposed a very large commercial ground-mounted solar facility. I believe if some of the commission members may remember, there was a large amount of disturbance on the site, a bunch of pavement that the applicant removed as part of the installation for the solar. Lucas Environmental has been going out there pretty regularly. Joe's been sending me quite a few reports, and the applicant has been pretty amenable to the notes that Joe's made over the years under construction. Joe reviewed the COC earlier this month, noting that the site is well stabilized. The wildflower meadow overall had pretty decent growth. There was a few thin areas that the applicant said that they would be happy to reseed. The perimeter fence does allow for wildlife passage, a couple different spots, either underneath the fence or through the fencing. He noted that there was one bittersweet vine growing up a panel that the applicant promptly removed while they were walking through the site visit. The basins and subsequent outlets are stabilized. The erosion controls remain in place and should be removed at this time. And based on Lucas's comments, I do recommend approval of the certificate of compliance.
All right. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on this one?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I'd just like to reiterate a thank you to Joe with Lucas Environmental, because through my tenure as agent on this project in particular, Joe really led the charge, being the eyes and the ears for the commission out there. And it was just one of those things that I did not really have to worry about because Joe was worrying about it for me. So thank you, Joe.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Joe. All right,
So you're looking for a motion to issue the COC?
I am.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
I'll second it with an amendment to have signatures by Anna.
Oh, I forgot that.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Considering that this is not a project that pleased me, I will still vote aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and I am an aye. We're all set there. All right. So any public forum requests? I don't think so. Nope. Hearing none. Okay. Well, that wasn't bad for a Tuesday night. So I guess we'll say bye, Kim.
Be well, Kim. Thank you for everything.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Kim.
It's a small world. We'll see you around, and welcome, Judy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to adjourn?
I am.
I will make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
And all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right.
Matt,
Aye.
Heather,
Hi.
and I am an I. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.